Hello and welcome to Gus McDoll Strategy and Tactics. I'm Nick McDoll. Today we're playing Part 6 of Ragnarok Armada, the 12th and final mission in the NATO campaign in Naval War Arctic Circle. Naval War Arctic Circle is based on a hypothetical Great Arctic War set in 2030 and fought in the North Atlantic, Arctic, Baltic and the North Sea. The NATO campaign covers the Great Arctic War as experienced from the Northern Partnership and NATO alliances. In Ragnarok Armada, we must conduct a counter-invasion of occupied Scandinavia. In the first episode in this mission, we developed a plan for the initial naval and air operations in this complex amphibious assault on Trondheim and Stavanger in occupied Norway. We reviewed the situation, friendly forces and enemy forces, and planned a three-phase operation. Then we implemented Phase 1 Defend. Naval forces conducted local defensive ASW operations with active sonar and towed arrays. Naval forces conducted local offensive ASW operations out to 20 kilometres. All forces established combat air patrols and local air superiority out to 100 kilometres, then launched AWACS. And RAF Lossiemouth and RAF Lakenheath launched Poseidon ASW missions. Then we implemented Phase 2 Destroy. Naval forces will locate and destroy enemy surface action groups. Fighter groups will establish air supremacy within 500 kilometres of Trondheim and Stavanger. And ASW forces will sweep Landing Zone North and Landing Zone South. In this final episode, we will complete Phase 2 with destruction of the enemy surface action group and any remaining enemy submarines. Then, we will complete Phase 3 as Landing Force North and Landing Force South move into position to conduct their amphibious assaults on Trondheim and Stavanger. We left off the last episode with the enemy surface action group launching a barrage of surface strikes against Landing Force North. One missile could end the amphibious assault and change the course of the war. But NATO has air superiority fighters airborne, as well as naval strikes with AMRAAM missiles. The enemy have made a serious mistake launching these strikes without first securing air superiority. One by one, the enemy missiles are shot down. The naval strike aircraft join in the defensive effort. More missiles are launched. So far we have only detected the Pyotr Veliki, a Kirov-class battlecruiser, and the Moskva, a Slava-class cruiser. But from the quantity of missiles being launched, we can also infer the presence of at least two other ships. From the type of missiles, we can infer at least one of these ships is an Admiral Gorshkov class. Specifically, the P-800 3M55 Onyx SSN-26 missiles are not carried on the Kirov-class or Slava-class ships detected so far, but this is the kind of missile carried by a Gorshkov-class vessel. More AMRAAM fired at the inbound Onyx missiles. The first of the naval strike aircraft launched Kongsberg Joint Strike Missiles at the enemy fleet. Once the strike fighters released their Kongsberg JSM, they turned for home to land, rearm, refuel and sortie again. Back at the Teddy Roosevelt, the air superiority fighters are ready to launch against any missiles that get through the initial screen, but the next wave of naval strikes are not yet ready to launch. Another Onyx salvo defeated. 1 to go. The fighters still have plenty of AMRAAM and take up a patrol position. Let's speed up time. And the final salvo of Onyx is defeated. The enemy has expended almost all their offensive combat power, and for no result. The M47B Pegasus are rearmed and ready to launch again. Off they go. The enemy launches surface-to-air missiles against the inbound Kongsbergs. Virginia remains just out of torpedo range. Moskva and Pyotr Veliki launch more surface-to-air missiles. Hit! The Pyotr Veliki is hit and damaged by a Kongsberg that snuck through. It has suffered major damage and has a fire on board. But it can still launch surface-to-air missiles and defend itself. Large fixed-wing air contacts detected from both Åland and Gardermoen. The last Kongsberg closes in. Hit again! The Kongsberg hits the Pyotr Veliki, causing further damage. It is fighting a minor fire and has slowed to 5 km per hour. This probably indicates the end is near for the Surface Action Group, and it is just a matter of time and missiles to complete their destruction. Next to launch are the Super Hornets with Harpoon missiles. They launch missiles almost as soon as they clear the flight deck. A fighter pair patrolling central Norway vectors to intercept an Aleutian Il-78 tanker over Gardermoen. It is not clear why this tanker launched, as there are no fighters left to refuel. Perhaps it is trying to escape. The Super Hornets return to the carrier. Pegasus reach release point and launch their Kongsberg missiles, then return to the carrier. The fighters launch on the tanker from maximum range. The tanker heads east at low altitude. The tanker evades the first missiles, but more are inbound. The fighters, meanwhile, have reached bingo fuel and are headed back to base. The tanker evades the missiles again. Still some time until the next naval strike is ready. NATO has air superiority over Norway. The enemy surface action group has no offensive and little remaining defensive combat power. Two ships are damaged. Their destruction is now just a matter of time and repeat sorties. The Piotr Veliki launches an incoming Kongsberg JSM. Most are shot down. 2 remain. Both are shot down. But we have detected 2 more ships in the group. As predicted, an Admiral Sergei Gorshkov-class ship detected by the Howard and the Lassen. And the Admiral Kasatonov, another Gorshkov-class ship. Pyotr Veliki hit again and critically damaged. A major fire rages on board. Four AGM-84 Harpoon missiles inbound on the crippled battlecruiser. Pyotr Veliki launches its remaining surface-to-air missiles in a desperate attempt to survive. But it is flares and countermeasures that work. The Harpoon attack is defeated. The next naval strikes are still being prepared. Let's speed up time. The enemy surface action group is just within torpedo range of the Virginia, but the submarine bides its time. In the south, the air picture is clear and NATO has air superiority, and the offensive ASW sweep is well underway. But no new detections. Texas changes course. The Iwo Jima launches another helicopter. Let's speed up time. The next sorties of naval strikes from the Teddy Roosevelt are ready for launch. Three pairs of F-35C. And 2 pairs of Hornets. And the Pegasus. The first pair launch Kongsberg missiles and return to the carrier. And the second. And the third. The first pair of Super Hornets launch Harpoon missiles and return to the carrier. And the second pair. The enemy fleet is now in range of the Mark 48 torpedoes from the Virginia. Time to launch. The Virginia launches torpedoes at the Moskva. The Virginia deactivates the torpedo sonar. This means the enemy ships will only detect the passive signatures from the torpedoes at much closer distance, and with less time to react or outrun the torpedoes. Both the Pyotr Veliki and the Moskva are badly damaged and on fire. One pair of Kongsberg missiles is headed for the Moskva. Another pair is headed for the Pyotr Veliki. The Piotr Veliki engages close-in weapon systems and survives. Short-range surface-to-air missiles are launched. A Kongsberg flies past the Piotr Veliki, headed for the Moskva. Hit! The Moskva is damaged and destroyed. It sinks beneath the waves. More fixed-wing large aircraft contacts detected. Probably tankers, but worst case could be bombers. More missiles inbound. The F-35 fighter pair increase altitude and activate radar. They detect one of the other ships in the enemy fleet. Then the other. The Kongsberg races towards the Piotr Veliki. Under 10 kilometers. Missiles are launched. Under 3 kilometers. Hit! The Piotr Veliki is destroyed. The remaining ships keep coming, as do the missiles. The Admiral Sergei Gorshkov launches surface-to-air missiles. Hit! It is hit and damaged. More missiles inbound and torpedoes. Hit again, damaged and destroyed. The Admiral Sergei Gorshkov sinks beneath the waves. One ship remaining, the Admiral Kasatonov. AGM-84 Harpoon missiles inbound. The Kasatonov launches defensive missiles. The harpoon attack is defeated. Torpedoes from the Virginia are closing in. At under 3 kilometers, the Kasatonov finally detects them and turns away. The torpedo sonar has gone active. The Pegasus returned to the carrier. The Kasatonov is running at 56 kilometers per hour. Hit, damaged and destroyed. The enemy surface fleet is no more. With no SAM threat from the enemy fleet, F-35 fighters from the Theodore Roosevelt launch on and pursue the tanker aircraft northwest of Trondheim. The Teddy Roosevelt launches more fighter aircraft to patrol the skies northwest of Trondheim. More AMRAAM out. The first Il-78 tanker is destroyed. And the second. A third is flying east of Åland. And is shot down. Two more tankers are flying from Gardermoen to Åland. Time for some minor adjustments to the ASW sweep in the south. In the north, the F-35 are bingo fuel and turn for home. The outbound patrol adjusts position southwest of Trondheim. And the P-8 Poseidon moves from its holding pattern to a patrol pattern off the coast. Let's speed up time. The F-35 launched AMRAAM against both Il-78 tankers. One is running up the fjord east of Åland. It evades the AMRAAM. The other is not so lucky and is shot down over the North Sea. The first is also shot down. NATO has now achieved air supremacy over Norway and has cleared the North Sea of enemy surface vessels. Only the subsurface threat remains in the way of the amphibious assault. So far, NATO has detected and destroyed 2 enemy submarines, the Kronstadt and the Vepper. But the missile launches earlier indicate at least 4 submarines in the area. A number of aircraft reach bingo fuel and return to base. And some wayward helicopters are directed home. Both landing forces creep towards their objective, screened by ASW helicopters. No sign of enemy aircraft. Six hours from objective for Landing Force South. "14 hours for Landing Force North. The force increases speed to 27 km an hour and the time on target reduces to just under 8 hours. Landing Force South also increases speed. 3.5 hours to go. Let's speed up time even more. The Poseidon maintains ASW patrol. 2.5 hours for landing force south. Covering force south increases speed to move into covering position. The coastline near Stavanger is now visible for the landing force. Anticipation mounts. Less than an hour to go. The sun is beginning to set. Vampire, vampire, vampire! Missiles inbound on covering force south. 3 M54E Club SSN-27 missiles. The force launches surface-to-air missiles. The Richmond launches a helicopter towards the launch point of origin. The inbound missiles are defeated. The Dragon also launches a helicopter. The helicopters reach their patrol positions, drop altitude, slow down, and deploy and activate dipping sonar. Sonar contact. Designate new contact Sierra 3. The closest asset is the Augusta-Westland AW101 HM2. It immediately abandons its patrol position and moves in for the kill. A quick check of covering force north. No ASROC torpedoes. The Augusta-Westland has 4 Stingray lightweight torpedoes. It closes to within a kilometre. Then launches 2 torpedoes. Then moves to an offset position. The submarine does not appear to realise the imminent threat. Hit, damaged and destroyed. The Sankt Peterburg B-585, a Lada-class submarine. Landing force south continues towards its objective, minutes to go. The helicopters return to base. Success! Landing force south has reached its objective. It slows down and prepares to disembark its ground forces. Up north, Landing Force North is 4 hours away from its objective. Let's speed up time. The ASW helicopters return to base. Virginia patrols the waters, listening for enemy submarines. Nighttime and darkness falls over Trondheim. It has been a long day. Two hours to go for Landing Force North. Covering Force South slows to a crawl and assumes a north-south patrol pattern. The E2 Hawkeye moves closer to Stavanger, alert to possible threats. The E2 Hawkeye from the Theodore Roosevelt does the same. Covering Force North moves to a patrol position. Almost there. Minutes to go. Success! Landing Force North reaches the destination. Mission accomplished. The amphibious assault and the liberation of Norway can begin. 3 hours of real time, thanks for hanging in there. Almost 15 hours of game time. NATO lost 7 aircraft, no surface ships or submarines. Russian forces lost a devastating 61 aircraft, 4 surface ships and 3 submarines. And the war. I have taken 3 key lessons from this mission, and indeed from all 12 missions in the campaign. First, operational success benefits from sound planning. In the last 2 missions in particular, I set out clear plans for how I would structure and conduct the battles. These plans were instrumental in succeeding with minimal friendly losses. In the 12th mission, this included executing a Kobayashi Maru maneuver and adjusting start state blue for the scenario to reflect the outcomes of planning, which was realistic as we had the initiative and were conducting offensive operations. Second, planning allowed me to control the tempo of engagements. what would I fight, when, where, and with what. As a result, I never lost the initiative to the enemy. In practical terms, this meant that I could deal separately with inbound air and missile threats, gain air superiority, then surface and subsurface superiority, before conducting land strikes or amphibious assaults. I was able to focus my efforts at each stage, maximising combat power and minimising friendly casualties. Third, success required prodigious quantities of ammunition, especially missiles of all types. This is a key lesson of modern warfare. Even the most expensive platform is almost useless when it is out of ammunition. A lesson amply demonstrated by the destruction of the enemy surface action group in this episode. First, they lost their offensive combat power by launching surface strikes without air superiority. They used up all their surface-to-surface missiles, but none found a target. Then they lost their defensive combat power by using up and running out of surface-to-air missiles. This made them vulnerable to airstrikes. By contrast, NATO forces never ran out of ammunition. NATO ships and submarines ended the mission with the majority of their magazines unused. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. For more Naval War Arctic Circle content, check out the NATO campaign and Jersey blockade playlists on our channel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and donate, and stay tuned for the next campaign.